back to Gary Paulson's Tucket's Gold. Remember he got bit by a snake in the last chapter. Here we are. He could not say if he was alive or dead. It was a dream that became a nightmare, back to a dream, and then to another nightmare, peopled with strange beings and spirits, and in it all, through it all, there was horrible pain and sickness. Later, he couldn't remember much, and for that he was thankful. Snatches of scenes came. Lottie was there in front of him, and Billy, and then somebody was turning him over, and then there was a horrible pain in his shoulder, and then something with two heads and corn leaves for hair was looking down at him and saying something he couldn't begin to understand, and then he was sweating, pouring more sweat than he had ever had in his life, and something hot was going down his throat, hot and thick and sweet, and then salty, and then finally, for what could have been an hour or a day or the rest of his life, he went back into nothingness, which at last turned into sleep. He did not awaken as much as become reborn. His eyes opened the smallest crack, and he saw, or thought he could see, a blurred fence in front of him, and that didn't make any sense at all, because at the same moment he knew he was flat on his back on some kind of blanket. Ceiling. It was a ceiling with round timbers covered with a lattice work of smaller limbs and willows. He was looking up at a ceiling, but how? When? His eyes swiveled slightly to his left, and he saw Lottie's face. She was sitting on the floor with her face lying on the bed and was sleeping fitfully. He could see her eyelids fluttering. There was light coming through a small doorway that dimly lit a small room, not even 10 feet square. He was on a bed made of willows in one corner of the room, away from the door opening, and for what seemed a very long time he could not think on where he was or how he came to be there. He decided he wasn't dead. He didn't think Lottie would be there if he was dead. But at first he couldn't understand how he'd come to be in a room. How could a room be in the prairie? Then he remembered the town on the butte with the small adobe houses, and he knew, how did I get here? He said it aloud and tried to. What came out was a cross between a crow's rasping caw and a hissing whisper. It was enough to awaken Lottie. Francis, are you talking? Did you say something? Oh, Francis, was that really you? I've been so worried these past 2 weeks that you were going to die and I would have to live without you. That 2 weeks. That came out better. Actual words, but still raspy and choking off. She wiped her eyes and sat up and nodded. Billy will be so glad. He's out hunting rabbits with Two Toes. Hunting? Don't worry. He didn't take your rifle. Honestly, if you asked for that gun once, you asked for it 100 times. I'd bring you the rifle and you'd hold it in your arms like a baby or something and go back to sleep. If I took it away, you would wake up and ask for it and go back to sleep holding it. Billy is hunting with a bow Two Toes showed him how to make. I swear, he's been running with that boy so much I think he turned Indian. He can hit a running rabbit with that thing. They have contests, all the boys, and the winner gets the other boys' arrows to use. Billy must have had close to 150 arrows before they quit shooting with him. Then he started hunting, and it was him brought in all the fresh rabbits for you. Francis held up his hand. Too fast. Go back. I guess we're in the village on the butte. An Indian village? But how did I get there? Oh, well, I don't know at all because I still can't talk to them very well because they haven't got a handle on English, and I can't get my tongue round their words. Billy has learned to rattle with them, or at least with Two Toes. That boy he's gotten to be friendly with. But all they talk about is hunting and girls. Just what you know. Tell me what you know. Well, Billy and I were waiting with the horses when 6 men came out of the dark and took hold of us. Took hold? Not in that way, not in a bad way, although Billy had a pretty good go at them and with his sword when they first came out of the dark, but they kind of wrapped him up and then they stopped and made signs that they were peaceful and made smiles and motioned that we should come with them. They let us ride the horses, but they didn't ride. They trotted along beside us as fast as the horses moved, and they didn't take the pack either, though you could tell they were curious at how heavy it was. When we got here, you were already on this bed, and there were 2 old women and a medicine man working on you. I swear I didn't know what to think. I was getting light. It was getting light when we got here, and even as dark as it is in here, I could see you were in a bad way. I didn't know why at first, and thought they must have hurt you, but then they showed me the marks on your shoulder, and I knew you were snake bit. They let me stay with you, but they wouldn't let me make none of my spit and mud poultice to draw out the poison. It's a shame, too. I had Billy's drink water and spit in a gourd all day. We must have had close to a quart, but they wouldn't have it. They used some junk they made up with water and leaves, so it all went to waste. They saved me. Well, them and me and Billy. Billy hunted rabbits, and we've kept a clay pot of rabbit stew to mix with the corn gruel they give you. They must have carried me here from where they found me. Lottie nodded. And there's been at least one old woman with you all the time. They fed you and cleaned you and all, but I think they were really just here to keep me from using my spit and mud poultice. I tell you, I saw a man bit by a copperhead come back home, and he was up in 2 days, not 2 weeks. He went to a dance and danced the reel all night. Not 4 days after he was bit. Of course, he was dead a week later, but that was because he tried to steal a team of mules, and somebody up and shot him and couldn't rightly be blamed on the poultice not working. They stayed with me. Another nod. Until this morning, they turned you over and looked at your shoulder, and one of them nodded to the other one, and they left. I thought they'd given up. Oh, Francis, I was so sure you were going to die. I thought I was dead, and then I just didn't know. They must have known you were going to make it when they left you this morning. Well, they were right. Francis took a deep breath. If I've been in this bed 2 weeks, they must have taken my clothes. He raised the thin blanket that covered him and looked under it. What have they got on me? Well, Lottie blushed. What is this, some kind of wool diaper? Well, like I said, we've been feeding you broth and meat for 2 weeks, and you couldn't get up, so we had to, like a baby? Well, yes, I guess you could say. Where are my buckskins? Francis, you shouldn't be jumping up. Right now. Lottie shrugged and went to the corner where the gold pack lay. She brought him his clothing. They cleaned them and smoked them so they smell like new cut pine. Turn around. Face the door. Francis sat up, and the effort almost made him pass out, and after much struggle and with many pauses to rest, he took the diaper off and got his clothes on. There. Now, hand me my rifle, would you please? Lottie brought him the rifle. The gold is safe here, too. Anything else? No, not now. I have to rest again just for a while. I'll just close my eyes for a few minutes, just for a very few minutes. He laid the rifle next to him and closed his eyes, opened them and closed them again, and Lottie smiled and tiptoed to the door. Lottie. She stopped and turned. Yes? I thought I was dead, and all I could think of was you and Billy. She waited. I guess we're a kind of family. She smiled. Thank you, he said. It was nothing. Yes, it was. And I'll never forget it. But now I have to rest just a little. You go ahead. I'll be right here by the door on my cot. Just for a while. Just for a while. And Francis was asleep. Well, that was pretty cute. All right, that was it for chapter 10. We'll be back with chapter 11 next time. Until then,